back to this video series on making a database using EasyGui. Today we are going to be looking at actually how to make the main menu. So once you get into our password, our database using the password that we looked at last time, we're going to be able to then go to add a customer. I'm going to show you how to actually get these boxes up to allow you to add records and things like that. So that's what we're going to do right now. If you don't have this code, you can download it from the GitHub files, which are linked below. We're going to now define another function, and that's going to be our main menu. So I'm going to get rid of this password menu bit here before we start, and I'm just going to do def main menu. So the main menu is going to be just to have us able to add a customer, view the customers, and then exit. But we can add other buttons and things to it as the database develops. But we just want to go through those core concepts to start. So what we need to do with this next function from EasyGui is we're going to make a button choice. A button choice box, the actual buttons need to be placed in a list. So we're going to do add our list as this with this name choices here, or choice, sorry. So I'm going to do the first item on my list is going to be add customer. Then my second one is going to be view customer or customers. And my third one is going to be exit. Okay, and then if we want to add, basically if we want to add other buttons onto our main menu, we just add them into this list, and then we pass choice as an argument, and that will actually update automatically for us. So I'll show you how that works now. So I'm going to create another variable called button choice. So whatever the user chooses, whichever one of these the user clicks on, is going to get returned into button choice. We'll see that working in a second. And that's going to equal button box. So button box is the function that we're going to be looking at to actually and using these fields with. So button box takes a title and instruction. So we've got sort of like the title, which goes at the top of the instruction here, or the title which goes in there. We've got the title which goes at the very top, so in this grey bar here. You'll see this is just where we had like enter our password before, and the other one it's exactly the same sort of thing. And like I say, this just goes in the grey bar. And then we give the buttons, so the buttons are in choices, so in choice, and then if we want to put an image on there, we can just put that at the end there as well. And now all we do is we just do a simple kind of like if, elif, else statement for us here. So if the button choice is equal to, and we just look at the string here. So whatever gets clicked on as add customer, view customers, or exits, the string gets returned into button choice, and then we can check that string against these next if statements. So if the button choice is equal to add customers, we are going to, for the time being, we'll just print out add customer, because we are going to put a function in here, but we haven't yet. We don't want the whole thing to just crash. If the button choice is view customer, we're going to do a similar sort of thing. And then for everything else, so the only other buttons to be pressed there is going to be exit. We will just print exit for the time being. So we could just do like an exit like we did before, but what I want to do is I want to make a little pop-up menu to come up here that just says, are you sure? So let's now call the main menu and make sure it's actually working. So there we go, there's our main menu ready to go. So if I click add customers, it comes up with that and all the rest of it. If I call password menu, it should call the password menu, and then it should from there call the main menu. So let's make sure that's working. So here's our password menu. I'm just going to paste in the correct password there. And then at the moment it doesn't, because we haven't actually changed this print statement here just to say just to actually go into the main menu. So we're going to change that print statement, and we're going to change that to main menu. So let's try that again. So here, I'm just going to paste in the correct item, press OK, and there we are, straight into the main menu. Okay, so next on the list is we're just going to have a look at actually doing the add customer and how actually we would go about adding the customers in and saving them into a text file. So now that we've made the main menu, we are just going to make another function, and that is going to be to add a customer. So adding a customer, we are going to be using a mult-enter box of EasyGui, and it takes, just like before, an instruction, a title, and all the rest of it. And we're going to look first of all at the field names. So the field names, obviously these are going to come to the left of the boxes which come up, and we write these in a list just like we do our buttons. So we could obviously, for this iteration of the database, we will just write down an ID, but what we can do is we can generate a unique ID for each customer. We'll do that later on, but just to keep it simple for the time being, we'll just write each customer an ID. First name, and then just whatever other information you want to capture about the customer. So I've put a couple of just a couple of extra little bits here like county and phone number, just so we can run a query on these bits when we get to that part. So it's very easy to run a query on everybody from Sussex, for example, or very easy to run a query on everyone's phones numbers that start with 01702 or something like that, you know. So that's why we've done those ones there, but you can add whatever fields in that you want and capture whatever data you want at this point. Now all I do is I create a variable, so customer data, and that is going to equal a mult-enter box, and I give a title as my first argument, so add customer, and then an instruction, so enter the customer data below. Then I'm going to give my field names, and then finally, just going to make this a little bit bigger. So the final one is a little bit of an optional one, and all this is it's going to be a list of the starting values in those fields. So it is the exact same, so it will go ID, first name, surname in the exact same order as our field names. So what starting value do we want in ID? So I could put the number 0 in there as our starting value. So this is quite good if we know, like, we're going to be using a database to capture a lot of people from the same county. We could automatically populate that part of the field for us. So I'm just going to leave the rest of them blank and maybe put something in the phone number or something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So everybody's phone number starts with 07 these days. No one's got a landline, I don't think. So these are my default values at the end here. Just going to close that off here. And now that is more or less it. So the customer data, once they've entered all their information in, they have two options. They can either press OK or they can press cancel. If they press cancel, none will be returned to customer data, the value none. So if that happens, so if customer data is equal to none, we want to go back to the main menu. We'll call that. For everything else, so in this case they haven't clicked on none, they've clicked on OK because it's the only other button available to them. What we're going to do is we're going to actually add their information into a text file. So we don't actually have to have a text file already created. If there's not a text file made, Python will make one for us in a second. So I'm just going to do file equals open, and we'll call it customers.txt, and we're going to open it up in append mode. So append mode means we're just going to be adding to the file basically, and that's what we want to do. I've done it as append plus there, so we can view the file and do some bits and pieces, but this is basically just append mode, so we're going to be adding to the end of the file. And then we need a little for loop. So we're going to do for x in range, and it's going to be from 0 to the length of customer data. So basically this for loop is going to run for every position in customer data. And basically what I want to do is I want to write the customer data, the piece of data which is entered, so customer data here, when the user presses OK, all of the different items that they have entered, so the ID, the first name, the surname, the county and the phone number, they all get returned to customer data as a list. So customer data ends up being a list of 5 items. So in order to write these into a text file, I'm going to use a for loop. I'm going to look at each position in customer data and I'll write them one after another. I'm going to separate them with a comma. So we'll talk about the reasons for separating them with commas and things like that in later videos when we come to actually start manipulating that data. But in order to get that over now, all I need to do, so I've opened it and I'm saying now do this for every item in customer data. All I want to do is do file.write, and the thing I'm going to be writing is customer data x and then plus a comma, and that is it. So for every single line I'm going to do customer data plus x. Now once they get to the end of the file, I don't want to just leave it there. I want to also write a new line so that when I come to write another record, it doesn't just go onto the same line, it goes down onto the next line. And then I'll be able to read certain lines and look at the indexes of records from there. So not in the for loop, this is not in the for loop, so I'm going to do file.write and I'm just going to write a new line. Like that. So I've written all the data to the text file, and then after that it'll write a new line, ready for me to then write another person, then it'll do a new line, and so on and so on. Once I've done that, I want to close the file. Always make sure you close the file once you're done with it, and I'm going to call the main menu again. So once I've done this, so let's test this now. So in order to test this, in my main menu, I need to change print add customer to actually call the add customer function to there. So if I now run this, I'm going to run this using the password box. I haven't written password box anywhere else, so password menu, just make sure the whole thing links up properly. So here we go into the database, and then add customer, so we're in here correctly, and then we are going to just put in some information, and then press OK, and then that looks good, didn't throw an error. So if we now exit this, that will throw an error because we've not defined the exit button just yet, and we look into our database folder, what we're going to see in here is this customers.txt file. If we open that up, we can see that our customer has been recorded in there. Now what should happen after this, if we do it again, so record 2, and we're going to do, I don't know why none of my customers have proper names, but there you go, and they all live in Sussex for some reason. And then I'm going to press OK, and then what we should see in our database file, if we open that up again, is our next person in here. Okay, so what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be talking about how to actually view these records, and then we're going to be adding some validation things like that onto it, because realistically at the moment I can type anything as his phone number, they're not just numbers and things like that, so I need to validate this database to make sure it's a little bit more secure. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing next time. So I hope you've enjoyed that so far. Come back next time and we'll look at view customers and we'll do a little bit of validation.